do a mess around evenings, nothing on the TV, and I'll come into the workshop and try and find something to do. Um, Looking to this Hewlett Packard 675A that I bought a couple of years ago. I've used it a few times, but I was hoping it had markers built into it, and it does. It does have markers, but it doesn't have any markers that are of any use to me, really. Obviously, you need the 10.7 meg. It does have the cone markers at every 100 kilohertz or every 1 megahertz, which gives you an idea of where you are. But you need to use the internal detector on it. It doesn't produce that from the RF output. So I've just been sort of looking at it this evening, and I've just set it up on the sweep here, as you can see, and the generator. It's pretty straightforward generator to use, actually. There's lots of buttons on it and things, but most of it's pretty straightforward. In this start-stop position, this is function control. This will be the start frequency, 700 kilohertz, and this will be the stop frequency of 32 meg. And that's the sweep interval in seconds, between 10 seconds to 100 seconds. And it's doing the sweep roughly every 10 seconds at the moment. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing the sweep, and as you can see on the scope here, I'm looking at the output, and if you notice the amplitude, see the amplitude is getting less and less as the frequency goes up. Now, first of all, I thought I've got the bandwidth and limiter on the scope. It's not that, and the bandwidth limiter only works at higher frequencies anyway. But you can see the amplitude dropping off, and I'm thinking, oh well, I didn't have the ALC circuit turned in, which is automatic level control. So I tried turning it on. Now it's off at the moment, and you see the range here, not making a lot of difference. It's still rolling off. Turn it to on. The level comes up, but you've still got the same roll off. And I was thinking, oh, the automatic level control circuit isn't working. So if you adjust the level down slightly and watch the meter, you can see on the meter that the output looks pretty constant. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's something wrong with the scope. And then I started to think a bit further on, thinking, well, I'm using this is a scope lead, an oscilloscope lead, to connect to it. I thought maybe it's that. So I tried a straight BNC to BNC. Didn't make any difference, still had this roll off. And then of course it tweaked me, maybe it's because I'm not terminating the end of the lead. Now, I thought termination was only important at much higher frequencies than this. But anyway, I thought, well, I'll put a terminator on it. So here we have a 50 ohm inline terminator. So I plug that in. Obviously the level's less. Bring it back up. But watch the amplitude now. No change. And that goes to show the importance of, if you're doing measurements with RF, even if it's only a couple of megs, you need to make sure that you've got all your leads matched correctly. So I was about to take this unit apart to try and find out why the automatic level control wasn't working. It was only the meter that gave it away that told me that there was nothing wrong. And interestingly enough, even with the automatic level control turned off, its frequency response is still pretty flat. Let me speed it up so you can see it a bit quicker. I don't know if this is coming up like on the... There you go. So that's there's a rapid change there. So you can see the amplitude shifting very slightly, and you can see it on the meter here. That ties in with what I'm getting on the scope now. Turn the automatic level control on. Pretty good. Alright, it's probably not quite, the loop response isn't probably quite quick enough to keep up with the sweep speed, but it's pretty good. So it just goes to show that it's quite important that you be absolutely sure that if you're coming out with a 50 ohm impedance and you're looking away from, you need to have a 50 ohm terminator on the other end to assure that you've got the good, if you're interested in the amplitude. If you're just peaking an IF core or something like that, or a transformer or something like that, an IF strip, it doesn't matter so much. You're not really interested in the amplitude. All you're interested in is getting the highest amplitude possible. You're not interested in the shifting amplitude from different frequencies, because you're only working with one frequency, obviously on an IF strip. But yeah, this is a nice old set. it's almost a waste really, because it's in beautiful condition and it's almost like it should be a museum piece, and I do tend to think that it's a bit of a shame to just leave it in the workshop when it's not doing anything. It works very well. It obviously hasn't had a lot of use from the person who bought it originally. I don't know what they used it for, but it's a it's something that can be used for doing FM sweeps and to a degree AM modulation. The trouble is you need a frequency counter connected to it all the time, because you can't be sure that these frequency meters, these all wind up analog meters, are accurate. They're pretty good once it's warmed up, and there is an RF output on the back of it, so you've got a good idea if it's okay if you just connect to sort of like a fairly straightforward frequency counter up to the back. Yeah, I thought that might have been of some interest, the importance of termination. Thanks for watching.